on there at the corner. Next, I want to get to Bobby. Bobby in California. You are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Hey, man. You guys can hear me good?
I can. There's a little bit of background noise, but I can hear you otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, I'm walking to a quiet area. I'll be there in like 10 seconds.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to discuss a little bit about life extension research. I was wondering if either of you have heard about it yet.
So I guess I'll start first, so then I want to hear Rebecca. So I know about how they take certain jellyfishes and that kind of seem to live kind of forever. They kind of like rebirth themselves and stuff. And they kind of are looking into that to see what the applications are for humans. And you know, obviously, the trying to lengthen the length of our telomeres because our telomeres get shorter over time. And so I know there's kind of research into that. I think that's pretty much the extension of my knowledge. Rebecca, what's the extent of your knowledge on life extension?
Ago on a documentary, and I just I think I'm almost too skeptical now, because I was just like, he's lying to me. David Attenborough is lying. Why is he lying? Why would he make up this crazy story? Like, I had to go Google it. But I have heard about these people doing experiments where they dramatically reduce caloric intake, and they think that might have something to do with extending life. Well, it doesn't sound that sweet to me. It sounds horrible. Like, if that's what I have to do, because it's a dramatic reduction. Like, you hardly get to eat anything. I mean, it sounds interesting, and I think obviously, like, as atheists, you know, most of us agree that we only get one go at this. So if you can have a few more years and your body's in good condition, you can enjoy them. I think it's amazing.
Sweet. Yeah, that's great. That's great that you brought up calorie restriction. It's one of the most popular, promising life extension treatments out there. But I mean, there's 2 long-term monkey studies, and there's only a 5% increase in one of the studies, and the other study had like a 2% increase in lifespan. So,
do you remember quite how low they're saying we'd have to get our calorie intake? Because I remember being shocked at how low it was.
It'd be around like 40%, which is a lot.
Oh. Yeah, horrible.
And you have to be careful with malnutrition.
Listen, I just started a new workout thing recently, and trying to cut on my diet and stuff. That's hard enough as it is. I don't want to go any lower. Yeah. But you know, I guess if I have to.
There's actually a few different promising life extension diets that isn't discussed nearly enough. But yeah, I'm about to start my master's soon and get involved in life extension research, because I mean, it's just so exciting.
Really?
I literally know of a like, my research will help us live to 150, 200 years old, really healthy.
Well, what kind of research is giving you that conclusion?
Yeah. So a lot of animal models right now have had their lifespan extended. There's about I personally recently gathered and organized around 700 different studies in mice that extended a lifespan between 10% and 50%. You know, there's drugs and supplements, gene therapies, stem cell therapies, diets, even low-dose gamma radiation, and pineal gland transplants or ovary transplants, and some really interesting ones. And there's like thousands more emerging in other modeled organisms. Well, you know, mice are cool, but what about humans, right? So a lot of these drugs and supplements have been tested on humans to target specific diseases. If you just look up clinicaltrials.gov and type in, you know, EGCG or royal jelly or dasatinib or quercetin, there's a whole list. I can email them to you if you want.
Maybe if someone's nice enough to put something in the chat or something, or if you're on the chat, you want to share some stuff with other people. Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, you type that in, and you'll see that there's a lot of completed studies with results of successful trials being done in humans with these, ranging from like cardiovascular disease, cancers, diabetes, and you know, that goes to show that, you know, they're really promising life extension treatment even in humans. So what we got to do is combine these, you know, and then that'll help us live to 150, 200, like really easily. Huh. Well, I don't know about really easily. I mean, it seems like I don't know. It seems like all things considered, most of us can't even make it to 100. You know, like maybe but I have to admit, I don't know enough about this kind of research to really say what kind of predictions we make. I can say that, any kind of predictions we've ever made about our scientific progress as humans go has been pretty much wrong in terms of time spans, so I don't know if it'll be, if it's in my lifetime, that's cool. But I don't know.
Man, it's happening.
That's cool that you're researching that kind of stuff. I hope, Bobby, when you get that research down, you send your research to the ACA so we can get that stuff first, as long as it's FDA approved and everything. I'd be interested in that.
What do you think about it? What do you think about atheism and the defeat of death? I think it's like really the next step for atheism. So what are your thoughts? That was actually going to be
my next question for you, Bobby, but I guess since you asked me, I'll go ahead and say it. I don't, so a lot of people have this idea that, I wouldn't want to live my whole life anyway, because by the time I get to the end of it, for some people, they're not in the best condition, and so they can't do the things that they want to do anyway and stuff. Now, if I was a healthy human being and I got to extend my life, if I got the body that I have now, and I could get that for like 200 years, I don't think I'd mind that per se. But I don't know. People have different thoughts about this, and I've been conflicted myself, because on the one hand, I want to say, why don't I just live the life I live and then just move on, and then just, once I'm done with it, I'm done with it. But, if I could live and if it's in the right conditions, I would want to stick around for a bit longer. I don't know about forever. That's a lot. That's a commitment. But, if it helps me out for a decade or two, seems like, it's so fascinating, because as far as humans today, we're already living longer than people were 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And those people, a lot of them are living their lives just fine. Certainly not all of them. But they don't want to, end things sooner. And again, that's not with every single case. But for the vast majority of them, a lot of them are just getting along fine. So yeah, I don't know, maybe. But that's kind of, if you gave me the option to extend my life, I probably want to wait till I was a bit older to figure that out and see how my life's going up to that point, maybe.
We always have the option to choose death, you can be 10,000 years old and you can still jump in front of a car. It'll be self-driving. So.
Maybe, but we also have inhibitors that prevent us from making those kinds of choices too. We're always trying to help ourselves in most cases. Now some people aren't in the right mental condition and other kinds of things where they make decisions that don't benefit them. But regardless, for a lot of people, they want to survive just like anybody else. But Rebecca, what are your thoughts on extending life and kind of living forever?
I guess it depends whether you're having children or not, because you need to make space for those new people, right? We only have so much space on the Earth. I guess we could expand to other planets and stuff but there is I don't know when we'll reach it, or maybe we have already reached it. I've heard people arguing that, but there is a carrying capacity for this Earth. So if people aren't dying off, but we're still having children, then that's going to be a problem.
That's interesting. That reminds me of a story I read when I was younger about a society of people that could basically live forever. And when the children got older and they wanted to look up to people, they would look up to their parents, and their parents were still looking up to their parents and their parents. And then stuff wasn't getting done because there was a chain of dependency, and people could actively choose to kill themselves. But that was pretty much the only way you die, is if you made that choice, because otherwise you could live forever. That was kind of an interesting take too. And that's what that reminded me of. But Bobby, obviously, I think you have some thoughts about this.
Oh, yeah, man. I've been working on the research for maybe a year and a half now, 2 years. And I've been studying transhumanism also for a while now. I'm really surprised that atheists aren't attracted to this idea of living longer, because we all, know for sure that there's nothing after death. It's just, it's quite obvious to us. So you think more of us would be jump on board really instantly. That's really interesting, I think.
Maybe that's because we're wary of science. Maybe because we're wary of the effects and the sociological impacts that our decisions and technology make. I think maybe we're just a bit more cautious about kind of the ramifications of that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. It's you're either dead or you're here, and it's if you're not here, then you can't. At least you have a chance here, to fix things. But and then I think atheists, the next step for atheism it's really easy to like make fun of theists, and I think you do like an excellent job at not making fun of them. Like other atheist podcasts, they'll make fun of them a lot and stuff, and that's fun to watch sometimes. But I think you do a really good job at being objective and really letting them know, like, this is wrong, and you explain why.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. But I think the next step for atheism really is to, heal theists, because there might be like a mass suicide that occurs because of theism once we defeat death, because people want to go to the afterlife and whatnot. So I think we really need to step up our game and be concerned for these people and really try to heal their
I don't know. Well, but there's also a clear theology under most Christian sects that I'm aware of that, and suicide is not an action that will necessarily get you to heaven. Taking your own life could be considered, a sin. Of course, maybe if you're saved, I don't know how that works. It depends on your soteriology is the word for that. Study of salvation.
Are they just going to accept the cancer, or are they going to take the treatment? I think a lot of theists are going to convince themselves to not take the treatment, and I think it's our duty now to help them. To see the lights.
There are people that are like, I want to come home to Jesus. That's a phrase that you hear, and
yeah, man, it's gnarly.
That's a tough thing, because I've in general have been in favor of people's right to death. People who are at that point in their life where they're ready for themselves. But if it's for reasons like that, that would also be hard. But I also respect people's autonomy. So a lot of conflicting moral boundaries here that I'd have to navigate.
Yeah, man. We got to start talking about it,
Yeah, you're right. I think maybe we do need to have more of a conversation about it. But I also want to have some conversations with some other callers here. So I am going to get to some other people here. Bobby, thanks so much for calling in and talking about this interesting topic with us. And if you have any more research, I want to know what's going on. Tell me your findings if you can.
Yeah,
later on.
I'll email your website.
Yeah,
my preliminary research. And I just want to say one last thing real quick.
Sure.
We're actually going to defeat death. From I have evidence that we're going to defeat death probably like 15, 20 years from now. So
all right, Bobby. This video is going to go on the internet, and if YouTube is still around in 15 years, you owe me $100, okay? And that's for this money's time, not for future inflation, okay? That's for current value. We got to look up the index. All right, I'm going to let you go here, Bobby. Thanks again for calling in on that. But interesting topic. Pretty cool that he gets to research that stuff. So
yeah, it's actually that sort of thing is playing out at the moment, isn't it? With what he was saying about suicide with the Christian Science people who are not only refusing treatment often for their own, because it's in their religion not to have blood transfusions or whatever, but also for their kids. And that's when it worries me, when it's like and I don't know what the answer is, because you can't, I don't know what the answer is, but it's that, like you were saying, the balance between respecting someone's autonomy, but also trying to be compassionate and keep them safe. And it's complicated.
Most recently, I think about this with the coronavirus stuff. We haven't talked about the coronavirus at all on this show. Nobody's got me any coronavirus conspiracies, although they're out there. Trust me.
I'm sure.
Recently, China has decided to kind of quarantine certain zones and kind of have these no-goes, even though there's a scientific consensus that those kind of strategies typically don't work especially with the population size that they've got over in Wuhan and stuff. But as the World Health Organization is trying to help out with that situation, there's a precedent to respect China's autonomy as well and what they're doing with their citizens. It's like, but we want to. The best way to help you isn't what you're doing, and it's like, oh man, and that relates to just a lot of different issues. Something I wonder if I could get an expert on that kind of stuff in the future. Maybe it'd be pretty cool.